and we can start. And as people join us, I know we have Lori has joined us right now, and then as people join us or how it goes, we'll just take it step by step. So
Okay.
this is Stacy with Express Information Systems, and I'm going to pass the handle over to Dory, who is with WorkForceGo. And Dory, if you want to tell a little bit about yourself, I will pass the baton to you, and then you can start the presentation.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Dory Mason, and I am part of the WorkForceGo management system team here located in Carrollton, Texas. So thank you for joining today. Very exciting to have an opportunity to share with you guys a little bit more about WorkForceGo, our product offerings, and then be able to drill into our demo environment and give you an overall look and feel of the capabilities, functionalities that we offer within our product. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And Stacy, I'm going to rely on you to let me know that that transitioned over and is now displaying. So what you should be seeing is a presentation where it says Ready, Set, WorkForceGo.
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So let's go ahead and get through this slide. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what our agenda is. So in our minds, it's all about the people that are working for your organization, and how the WorkForceGo can assist you in managing those people. Not for sure if we're going to have time for question and answers, but definitely would want to be able to answer any questions that anyone may have, and even if that consists of just a follow-up after this webinar. Understanding that payroll can be the biggest expense that an organization incurs, but obviously that's with good reason, because again, it's all about the people that provide the ideas, the service, the efficiencies, the productivity, all working to generate that needed and required revenue for your company. So who is WorkForceGo? WorkForceGo is a platform that's accessible anywhere, any place. We classify it as very easy to use, configurable to each one of our clients. Definitely supported by helpful product experts that are part of the internal WorkForceGo team. And it's flexible and scalable, and we'll talk about that a little bit here in the next slide. Accessible anywhere. So it is a cloud-based solution. So anywhere that you have internet capabilities, whether that's through a laptop, a mobile app, an iPad, you would have the ability to actually be able to log in and have the features and functionalities of the WorkForceGo product at your hand. It is one sign-on, one database, one employee record. So it encompasses time labor management, HR features and functionalities, including recruitment and payroll processing as well. We do offer a dedicated solution representative to each of our clients, backed up by a service team. We offer a consultative approach, so therefore we are here to help you, to service you, to support you in not only navigating through the system, learning the ins and outs of the system, and really providing as much of that ownership of the system as you want to take on. When we talk about flexible and scalable, so just mentioned, 3 different silos of products, if you will, HR, TLM, and payroll. But know that based off of each company need, we can scale those products to meet the needs of you on an internal basis. So you may say, you know what, I'm just looking for a payroll portal, and that's great. You can use it for that. Maybe you're just looking for a time labor management portal, and that's awesome. We can offer that. Or maybe you're just looking for an HR feature and functionality portal, and that's awesome. We can offer that as well. So they can be offered as standalone, and they can be bundled together based off of your needs. So this is just an overview of the 3 kind of silos that I talked about: the payroll, HR, and time labor. It is a real-time payroll solution, so as you're making changes through the portal, you're going to actually see the instant results of all of those changes, all the way from adding an employee on the fly, making direct deposit changes, updating taxes, importing or inputting an earning code at the very end at the pay statement level. So real-time solution, processing as you go, and providing those payroll reporting elements before you ever even get into a submittal process or finalizing your payroll. Human resources. So it includes benefits administration, offering the open enrollment, comprehensive applicant tracking, screening, onboarding processes, offboarding processes, performance reviews. So everything that encompasses an HR department and the functionalities that they need to manage that employee database can be found within the WorkForceGo HR solution. And then time labor management. So many different variety ways of capturing that time, whether that's through a telephone activity, whether that's through a mobile app, clock devices, so the hard clocks hanging on the wall. So a lot of options depending on the organizational needs, and a lot of payrolls to be able to manage and calculate those different rates, the variable rates that someone may be getting paid based off of a specific project, job, or task that they're doing, as well as all the overtime calculations that are a must-have, and also including any of those rounding and or lunch rules that each internal organization may need to be using. A lot of compliance reporting available within the system, so whether that goes from your accruals, your absence management, all the way through to the ACA management that we are so rapidly getting those forms out today in preparation for processing them to the IRS. So with that, here's a little contact information, and that's been shared with Stacy so that she knows how to get a hold of us for further answers to anyone's questions that may arise after this presentation. And I'm going to actually switch over to my screen so that we can start getting into the portal. And again, Stacy, if you can confirm that that screen did that switch on your side, and what you should be seeing now is a green background with a logo here to the left center of the screen that I'm circling with my mouse.
Yes, that's perfect. And I just want to remind everybody to mute themselves so that we can, not a problem now, but just so that there's no background noise so that we can all hear you clearly.
Awesome. So this is a Workforce Portal login. It is configurable for each one of the clients, meaning that it would capture each of your client logo, inclusive of your name and any welcoming message that you would want to deploy to the users as they are coming into their employee self-service portal. What's not included in the live environment is this login screen, so that is only for my purposes to be able to navigate in and out of 3 different environments that I'm going to take you through today. So I'm going to start out with an employee environment, going to then migrate into a managerial environment, and then we're going to end up in more of the company administrator environment. So as you will see as I go through this process, each user obviously is going to have a username and a password. There is a virtual code authorization process for compliance purposes to make sure that we're offering the most secured and safe cloud-based environment for all users. The system is very dashboard driven, so encompassing from an employee perspective, do have the ability to communicate with those users through an announcement. So think of things as you're wanting to communicate of upcoming events, maybe potlucks or parties, or outside organizational events that you want to make sure that every employee is aware of and so they are able to attend. Some of the things that an employee can do, and again, it's all based off of security profile. So as we kind of go through some of these things, you may say, gosh, I would never open that up to all of my employees. And that's okay, because as we talked about that consultative approach, what we do with each client is we actually sit down with them independently and we talk about those experiences and what do you want your employees to be able to see and what do you want them to be able to do within their portal. So again, very configurable, very flexible to meet each independent organizational needs. Some of the items that we've opened up for the demo environment from an employee perspective is what we call My To-Dos. And so what My To-Dos is an area that we can push out an onboarding process. So as we hire our new employees and we want to get them into the system and we want to collect some of that onboarding packet of information, we can incorporate through the system, taking them through that process. So asking them to go through the system and complete their I-9 form, asking them to complete their federal withholding forms and any state forms that are required, maybe populating a company handbook that's available for them to be able to download and read, and then obtaining their acknowledgement that they've actually read that employee handbook or any other document if necessary. Managing their direct deposit, so giving them the opportunity, if you wish, for them to populate and to record how they want those checks dispersed into those various accounts. Any additional learning portals or outside web links that you want to drive your employees to for them to complete the onboarding processes. So think about the employee hire packet that may be given to an employee today in a paper packet, and that's the information that we take a look at, and that's the information that we like to embed into this checklist area. Some of the items are also in here based off of time is we can open up to an employee a timesheet record. And so whether that's coming in and actually clocking in and clocking out for the day, maybe managing the different cost centers, could be projects, could be tasks, or it may just be departments. So as we think about allocating and how to go about allocating those employees' time, can be done through the web portal. Also could be to where an employee may be just coming in and actually reporting total hours worked and not really capturing the in and out. So the variations of different type of timesheets that can be deployed and actually managed at an employee by employee level. The ability to go through the portal, either through the web portal or through a mobile app, and managing those time off requests. So opening that up and whatever your time off requests look like here, very easy for the employee to go through the process, choose that time off request, and select that time off day. But as you also can see, also providing the visibility of all of the employees' accrual balances right here at their fingertips. So for them to be able to verify that they've got those balances available before they actually go through this request process. And then the workflows attached to these time off requests and many other requests within the system. So as employees are going through and making these requests, they can submit these requests, and then what's happening on the back end is actually an email notification going out to the next person who's responsible to review and approve those requests. Knowing that not everyone's going to spend every working hour here within their payroll, HR, and time labor management portal. So very important to be able to communicate and to distribute notifications through to an email so that the managers or supervisors, department admins knows that there's an event that's taken place within the portal for them, driving them back into the portal to manage those events. The ability to always be able to get a hold of their pay statements, to be able to view those pay statements. So every payroll process within the WorkForceGo solution, those pay statements will reside within the solution. So we don't purge any of the information. Given the ability for the employee to pull up that pay statement and really get a mirror of what actually that pay statement looked like when it occurred during that current pay period, and then the ability to download that PDF and be able to have a paper copy if they need to. So think about those employees that are asking for the pay statements, or those employees that are trying to maybe buy a car or get an apartment over the weekend and need to have that verification of income. They'll have that ability through their employee self-service portal. Also, through some of the HR things, and I'm not going to have time to click through all of this, but the ability to set up performance reviews. So if you are doing performance reviews today and you want to actually provide that out for an employee to do a self-review, that can be handled through their employee self-service, and then through a workflow process that can go from employee to manager. Manager can make notes and then send that on to the workflow process for the HR department to do the final review and approval of that performance review. Also, the ability to embed hyperlinks. So if you think about some of the other areas that employees often visit, whether that's your benefit carrier vendors, being able to put those hyperlinks here so they have a place to come into the portal and then navigate from the employee self-service portal into the other portals of information that's very important to them. So I'm going to pause there for a moment. I'm going to go ahead and log out as Josh, and then I'm going to log in as a departmental supervisor. And again, based off of security rights and features and functionalities, you'll notice that the dashboard will grow as we migrate into these different environments because, again, it's based off of user credentials and the rights within the system. Maybe one of the differentiators in our system from other products out there is from a managerial perspective. I still have one portal. When I come into my portal, I have the ability to see everything as it relates to me as an employee of the company. So some of the same features and functionalities that we just went through under Josh's portal, but then also the ability to manage my employees as well within the same portal. So based off of the information and rights we give, a manager has the ability to look at their employees, whether it's the contact information. Maybe we want the managers to look at and review the trainings and certifications that are out there assigned to the employees and the events of those certifications and trainings, whether they've been expired and someone needs to be assigned to a new one. The performance review, so from a workflow, navigating that from the employee perspective into the managerial portal for them to complete their section of that performance review. And then maybe opening up some base comp reporting elements as well. So if I click on these, what we'll see is an overview of just the basic employee roster report. But what each user has the ability to do is as they look at this information and say, this is great, but maybe there's additional information that I want to pull into this report. It's very easy to for users to manage the information and then build their own report. So every user will have the ability to go into a select columns area and be able to add information to the report that they've seen back here behind this pop-up box. So everything here on the left-hand side is things that we can add to that report. So maybe I want to pull in the region. Maybe I want to pull in their project full name. So whatever those cases may be of that information, I've got a picture stored on that employee. Very easy just to add that information by clicking these boxes. My selections reside down here, but then I have the ability to take this information and replace it wherever I want to within the report. And you can see this information has now populated in my report. And that's what we call our easy-to-use report writer. Time elements are usually a big thing from a manager perspective. So being able to look at those time information, prior to payroll processing. So before they actually go through the approval period and get those timesheets are ready for the payroll department to process, being able to see that information live within the system. So going into a timesheet by pay period and looking at those hours across a period of time, whether they're the worked hours or they're the time off hours, and where do they sit from an approved and unapproved perspective. Able to navigate and look at all of those timesheets independently, or if I'm comfortable with where everything I see, being able to approve those on the fly as well. Looking at the time off request, so I can see from a time off perspective who's requested what and at what point in time, and also the ability for the system to notify and recognize that based off of time off events, maybe I have multiples that are requested the same day. So having that information and being able to make that decision not only based off of the accrual availability, but from a workflow perspective internally in the department, can I afford to have more than one employee off at the same time and day? And then looking at it globally across the calendar. So incorporating not only our holidays from a company perspective, but the employees as well, and who's all off scheduled on specific days for each month of the year. So a lot of reporting capabilities, so managing those late in, early out, absentee reportings based off of schedules. So populating the schedules into an employee and looking at that scheduled time versus the actual time worked, and having the information be able to be right here on the report view so that you can manage that information. So a lot of reporting capabilities from a time element, but then we also can bring it out into other areas so that we can see from an attendance board, you know, who's in, who's out. Very easy to verify without actually running any reports to make sure that everybody that's supposed to be here for the day is accounted for. And then pulling it out from a timesheet awaiting my approval or time off awaiting my approval, bringing that all out into the dashboard. Very easy to make those selections and be able to approve that on the fly. So again, also have the recruitment available out for managers. So if we wanted them to be a part of a recruiting process with us, well, with the HR department, giving them the ability to see the applicants that have actually applied for the positions that reside within those departments. And we could spend a whole hour on just HR as it relates to performance review and recruitment feature and functionality here within the system. I'm going to log out as the manager, and I'm going to now log in as Kathy. And Kathy is our administrator here within this demo environment. And again, she's got a lot more activity because she has a lot more responsibility throughout the organization. So still having that one portal for her to be able to come in and manage the information as it pertains to her, but then also be able to manage all of the employee information for the organization as well. So encompassing those to-do items. So from a company administrator perspective, having those onboarding items assigned to specific users so that they know exactly what they're supposed to do from an onboarding perspective. Looking at those reviews as they've gone through the system. So as you can see here, it started out with Ashley as the employee. Ashley got to rate herself, and then it went to her manager. The manager has rated Ashley as an employee, and now it's into the HR department, and HR has the ability to go through and rate that employee as well based off of those core values, those competencies, and those goals. looking at an employee's weekly schedule, managing the hiring process of an employee. So being able to hire right here in the portal, obviously, looking at an employee information. So being able to drive down into what is part of an employee's profile. So opening that up and seeing really all of the information that the system is able to capture from an employee perspective. And the profile is a very big section within the WorkForceGo product. This is the area that's managing all of the accruals, all of the time, all of the HR functionality based off of benefits and retirement plans and performance reviews. So each employee being managed independently based off of those profile tables that are set up at the company level and then attached down to the employee level. From a payroll perspective, seeing all of the base compensation, those job change history reports are available within the system as well, based off of how the employees are ranking throughout the company during their tenure. Capturing that job information and what type of employee are they. Managing unlimited deductions, all of the different types from a Section 125 to a standard deduction, being able to schedule those from a start date and an end date. So being able to future date those in the system and let the system handle those, keeping them dormant until that payday arrives that then activates that specific deduction. All of the different types of direct deposits, managing all of the different tax entities, not only from a state level, but all the way down to the local level as well. Being able to report off of just the whole broad scheduled earnings and the scheduled deductions. So what scheduled earnings are assigned to my employees? What are the scheduled deductions that I have active into my portal that are assigned down to each of the employees? Looking at holistically all of the direct deposits. Seeing where all of my forms are. So for every form that an employee actually fills out into the portal, I can be able to run a report and have the system go and look at all of those forms and give me an overview based off of the status of that form. Is it still in a new status? I mean, is the employee still working on that form, or has it gone through that whole approval process and ended up into an approved status? From a recruiting perspective, looking at those job openings, managing those applicants, looking at it from a timeline perspective so that I can see based off of when my jobs were opened and how long have they been open. So is it time to close those jobs, or is it actually time to make an offer to some of these applicants that's been sitting out here for a while? From an HR perspective, being able to go through and look at the benefit plans that the employees have actually elected through the portal. So being able to group that by specific benefit plans and then getting an overview of all of the employees that have selected those benefit plans. And so not only being able to see it from a tier perspective, but all of the demographic information as it pertains to those employees. Again, the trainings and certifications, so seeing what trainings and certification has been attached to the employees, who has completed those, who have actually maybe completed those have also been expired, so that we know that we need to assign a new training or certification program to the employee. Is there any cost associated with that? So setting that information up into the system and then just really letting the power of the reporting functionality of the system provide us that information. And so some of the other things that are part of the HR is just the birth dates and the anniversary reports, being able to look at that globally across the company. Having also the ability from a timesheet perspective, so being able to run those timesheet reports across the whole company, looking at it from not only a time off, but from worked hours. and making sure they're processed correctly and accordingly so that we can get into processing our payroll. So I'm going to open this up and go through a little bit of this process here. So I can go through and look at my payrolls. And as I open this up, what it's going to provide to all of our payroll administrators is really our to-do list or our navigation of going through and processing the payroll. So again, it's one solution, so it's got time elements in here as well, so we're not having to manage our time elements outside of the WorkForceGo solution. So I can see very quickly that all of these areas have been taken care of, meaning I don't have any other time off requests out there that need to be approved. All of my timesheets are ready for payroll. All of my timesheets have been processed. I can lock my pay periods, and I can go right over to payroll prep. I can sync those time entries right into the pay statement, and I can come in here and look from a pay statement perspective of the employees that are attached to this pay period and are needing to get a payroll check. So I can see from a gross to net perspective, including deductions and taxes here on this display, that I may have the need to drive down deeper into a pay statement and do some more entries at the pay statement level. So I very easily can go through and make an entry based off of additional earnings. So maybe we need to pay, in addition to bonus, we also need to be paying out commissions this time for this individual. So I can add that and save it, and I can preview it, and in real time I can see my entries that have been made to the pay statement and get a true calculation from a gross to net perspective on that additional entry. Or maybe I need to download that and share that with someone else. As I go through here, I have the ability to look at all of these pre-payroll processing reports. So I can see from a payroll register the employees that are being paid for this particular pay period, from a gross to net perspective, including the employer taxes at the employee level. But I also will get my company totals as well. So gross to net and employer taxes included. I can look at labor distribution reports. I can look at my general ledger summary. So whether that's based off an employee by employee, I can look at my general ledger, my GL accounts, all of my debits and my credits, and the balancing of that general ledger report. Can also go through and look at a payroll recount and funding report. So this gives us another overview, itemizing how many employees have been paid, the allocation from a payroll check to a direct deposit, an overview of all of those taxes, and a little comparison silo of this payroll is being processed based off of to the previous one that was processed. So just a validation, am I in line here? And then those that have not been paid, so I can get a look at the employees that are in my portal that maybe are not included in this payroll run, and I can verify and validate very quickly, is that okay, or do I need to make sure that they get a paycheck for the payroll period? And then one of the last items that is also inclusive in this area is ACA reporting. So based off of having your time elements, your benefit plan information within the WorkForceGo portal, it's very easy to be able to populate those ACA forms. So it's going to provide us an ACA summary by year of those employees and how they fall within the status from a full-time to part-time perspective. I also can drill down and get some more detailed information. And where they're sitting from a measurement period, and where they're sitting from an affordable or minimal value plan offering. and then the ability to see it from a 1095-C form. So the system's capturing and populating those forms based off of the information that's stored within the portal, so it's ready to go to be able to print these out and distribute these out onto the employee, as well as being able to populate that 1094-C from a company level as well. Sorry, had the wrong year selected there. There we go. So again, we went through an employee, a manager, and a company administrator perspective, showing the elements from time, payroll, and some HR features and functionality. So I don't know, Stacey, do we want to stop here and open up for questions and answers?
I'm here. Anybody have any questions? That was great. I don't think we have any questions. Casey, do you have any questions?
No, I think it was very well explained.
I agree, and very thorough. The reporting and all of that dashboard was awesome.
Okay, great. Well, as things come up, and if you hear from anybody, please just feel free to reach out to Chris, and he'll be more than happy to assist you guys forward as you get just any questions from any of your clients.
Perfect. So what we're going to do, so everyone knows, you'll be receiving an email with a questionnaire that wants your feedback for the webinar. It asks about CPE credits, what you liked, if you'd like some more information. So you should be getting an email from Brianna within the next few hours. So just keep a lookout for that. And then we just thank Dory so much for your time. It was great, wonderful, very thorough, and we really appreciate it. And we will follow up with Chris later in the day.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks, Dory. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.